Interactions is an important aspect of life. In humans, we interact by communicating with other people to create an environment that is conducive to our integral development. As per other organisms, their interaction is brought by the prevailing conditions of their environment, which force them to associate with each other. This is called a symbiotic relationship. Similar to humans, flora and fauna has their own types of relationships. Today, we will be discussing the relationship between organisms where one is benefited in expense of another organism and where both of them are benefited. Parasitism and Mutualism.
Parasitism involves a parasite benefited and its host harmed. In general, parasites are much smaller, more specialized, reproduce more quickly, and greater in number than their host. Parasites are ecologically classified as microparasite and macroparasite.
Microparasites are characterized for their small size and short generation time. This includes viruses, bacteria, and protists. Macroparasites, on the other hand, is distinguished by their large size and long generation time. They typically do not complete an entire life cycle in a single host organism. This consists of worms, arthropods, and even some vertebrates. For the case of parasitic plants, they are known for their unique structure called hostorium. They are also characterized into two, hemiparasites and holoparasites. The former are photosynthetic, whereas the latter is otherwise. Thus, they are completely acting like heterotrophs.
Truly, parasites' goal is not to kill their host. In fact, they want them alive. For when their hosts die, they'll die. However, aside from development, to complete their life cycle, parasites must involve themselves into some kind of transmission process. Either direct or a transmission where an intermediate host or carrier is involved.
Direct transmission occurs when parasite is transferred from one host to another without the involvement of an intermediate host. Influenza virus, a microparasite, is often transmitted in this way. They are airborne. Other macroparasites spread through this as well. Ascaris, the roundworms, is a macroparasite that spread via direct transmission. Female roundworms lay thousands of eggs in the host's gut that are expelled with the feces, where they are dispersed to the surrounding environment. If they are swallowed by a host of the correct species, the eggs hatch in the host's intestines, and larvae bore their way into the blood vessels and come to rest in the lungs. Another method of transmission involves an intermediate host, also known as a carrier or vector. Malaria parasites, which infect a wide variety of vertebrate species, including humans, are spread through this.
The 4 species of Plasmodium that cause malaria in humans are transmitted to the bloodstream by the bite of an infected female mosquito of the genus Anopheles, which serves as a vector of the disease.
When another non-infected Anopheles mosquito blood fed in an infected human, they can infect other humans. These mosquitoes infected does not suffer from the presence of Plasmodium parasites. Other insect vectors are also used by parasitic plants for their transmission to its host organism. Most of the common parasites are known to cause infections or diseases, which stimulates the immune responses of the host's body. However, there are still other ways a parasite can affect its host organism. Parasitic infection can reduce the reproductive success of males by impacting their ability to attract mates. Females of many species choose mates based on the secondary sex characteristics. Full expression of these can be limited by parasite infection. Furthermore, it can cause the increasing probability of host mortality. Nevertheless, parasites' goal is not to kill their host. Thus, they are not the direct cause of the deaths of the host. It's a secondary infection the host acquired due to the lowering of their immune responses caused by the parasitic infection. As individuals who need to survive in their environment, host species evolve a variety of defenses to minimize the negative impact of the parasite's presence, for they are at risk of extinction. At some stage in host-parasite coevolution, the relationship may become beneficial to both species.
wherein each one of them is benefited by their existing relationship. This relationship is termed mutualism. Mutualism can be characterized by different variables such as the benefits received, degree of dependency, degree of specificity, and duration of intimacy. With mutualism as an interaction where both parties benefit from each other, benefits received include various things. Both individuals vary in their degree of dependency on each other. We have obligate mutualists, where it is necessary to participate in the mutualistic interaction for both individuals to survive or reproduce. On the other hand, facultative mutualists are two individuals which also benefit from each other, but they are not fully dependent on each other that each cannot survive or reproduce without the other. The degree of specificity of mutualism differs from one interaction to another. Highly specific mutualists or specialists form exclusive interactions between two species. Most mutualists, however, are more dispersed since they associate with a wide diversity of mutualistic partners. They are called generalists. One example is the honeybees, which pollinate hundreds of flowers. The duration of intimacy is also used to characterize mutualism. For symbiotic mutualism, the relationship is often obligatory, and one member of the pair would sooner or later be fully dependent on the other. Meanwhile, others are free-living or non-symbiotic, where both individuals do not physically coexist, but they still depend on each other. Mutualistic interactions are also involved in the uptake of nutrients by plants and animals. To illustrate, the rhizobium bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, which are used by leguminous plants as a source of nitrogen. Therefore, it establishes a mutualistic relationship between bacteria and plants. Plant and pollinator interactions demonstrate good examples of mutualistic interactions, since almost one-third of extant angiosperms receive pollination from animals. Insects are the most common animal pollinator, and these include insects such as bees, butterflies, moths, flies, and wasps. Most pollinators acquire food in the form of pollen or nectar, which is similar to what the pollinator Neozelloboria cryptoides receives when it pollinates Prassophyllum. In this case, they are mutually benefited. Some seeds are too heavy to be dispersed by the wind. Hence, animals have to carry seeds and deposit it in sites conducive for germination. For instance, frugivore depends on some plants such as Capsicum frutescens as their source of food, and in turn, they disperse their seeds, which is essential to the plant population. Mutualism is often discussed at the individual level. It is now time to understand it at the population and community levels. The existence of mutualism is observed at the population level only if the growth rate of species 1 increases with the increasing density of species 2 and vice versa. If it involves a symbiotic mutualist who have an obligate relationship, the removal of one species would lead to the extinction of the other species. These are only a handful of examples of the symbiotic relationship in the environment. There are thousands of different organisms all working together to survive, and it's one of the things that makes the blue planet so exciting to explore.